The National Productivity and Competitiveness Council has been officially designated as an Africa Kaizen Initiative Center of Excellence. And we talk about the Kaizen concept. It's all about continuous improvement in organizations. So what does it mean for the NPCC to be designated Center of Excellence? What does it bring to the country? And how does the NPCC intend to further promote the Kaizen concept in organizations? We talk to Dr. Vinay Antras, who is the Executive Director of the NPCC. Dr. Vinay Antras, Executive Director of the National Productivity and Competitiveness Council, the NPCC has been officially designated as an Africa Kaizen Initiative Center of Excellence. What does that mean for the organization and also for the country?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to talk more about the NPCC and us becoming a Center of Excellence in Kaizen. I think it represents a major achievement for the organization. It's been a process, and us getting this recognition, it represents that we have built the capacity over the years to be an institution that can provide training for Kaizen, not only in Mauritius, but also in the region. So we have the capacity, and I believe that having this recognition really puts us on the map. In the region, it gives us more visibility, it gives us more credibility in the country. Up till now, I believe, and this is what people say, that NPCC is not so well known. We operate at a level, we work with enterprises, we work with students, we work with youth across the country, but the problem is a lack of visibility. And I actually welcome this opportunity. I hope this will give more visibility to the institution, and us being recognized now as a Center of Excellence in Kaizen will give us added visibility. So I believe we can ride on that wave and take full advantage of the fact that we are now a Center of Excellence in Kaizen.
Now, when we talk about Kaizen, it's a Japanese concept which NPCC is implementing in organization. How do you intend to promote that across many and diverse organizations in Mauritius?
We have been doing Kaizen training and Kaizen interventions in enterprises and organizations for some time now. So I think it's very important that I dispel a myth about the NPCC. Some people think that the NPCC, because we fall under the Ministry of Industry, SMEs and Cooperatives, people tend to think that we work with enterprises. That is not true. We work across the board. We actually work across all segments of the population. Enterprises, yes, but not just SMEs. We work also with large enterprises. So we've been doing Kaizen training and Kaizen interventions for some time now. Kaizen is this Japanese concept of small and incremental improvement. So basically eliminating muda, eliminating wasteful activities, wasteful processes, making your processes more efficient, and at the end of the day, bringing about greater operational efficiency at the enterprise level. So we will go to an enterprise on request from the enterprise, and we will study their processes, do a diagnostic, and propose solutions. And I think one major difference between us and a typical private consultant is that once a consultant would provide a report or make recommendations, basically his job ends there, not us. We go the extra mile. We do this accompagnement, the hand-holding, making sure that what we are recommending, the solutions we are proposing, are actually put into effect, are actually implemented. So that is what we do.
So we understand this is the smart way of doing things?
Smart processes, making processes smarter, eliminating waste, bringing about greater efficiency. So we do this kind of intervention, and we also do training, Kaizen training. So how training with staff, training with employees, how you can, so it's all about developing this culture, Kaizen culture. How do you behave in a way that brings about greater efficiency in the organization? So that is Kaizen training, and we are doing it across organizations, whether in the private sector or in government.
Now, surely being designated the Center of Excellence is a milestone, but do you have other future plans to even promote what you're doing here at the NPCC?
We have now developed a strategic plan, and this center of us becoming a center of excellence is embedded in this strategic plan. And my vision, in fact, as executive director of this organization, is to make this organization more visible, actually make the NPCC an apex organization in Mauritius, an organization that can make a greater impact in the economy. Because up till now, yes, we've been doing things, but at a level that doesn't make that impact at the aggregate level, at the macro level. So my vision is to come up with a national productivity policy so that we have a top-down approach rather than a bottom-up approach, because right now we are doing a bottom-up approach. We work at the micro level with enterprises, with organizations, and the problem then is that you don't see the impact at the macro level. So a policy will allow us to invert the process and do a top-down approach, the kind of approach that Singapore, for example, has implemented with the results that we know.
Thank you very much. Mauritius is a well-established international financial center. We all know that. Here, operators evolve in an ecosystem of highly strict legislations and regulations. But a few years back, Mauritius was under scrutiny, especially by the European Union and the FATF. What has the jurisdiction learned and how to overcome the challenges? Today, we talk to Humaira Somtali from ONS FinServe. Humaira Somtali at ONS FinServe, you are Manager, Corporate Fund Administration. So first of all, we would like to know about your organization, what it does and its role in the Mauritian financial services sector.
ONS is the corporate and fund service provider in Mauritius. So what we do, we help clients set up and manage companies and investment funds in Mauritius. So we guide them on the whole process, that is from company setup to legal, accounting and ongoing reporting. Our goal is to ensure that the clients, the companies meet local regulation while still making their business move efficiently and effectively. ONS, in short, help global investors use Mauritius as a jurisdiction for their cross-border investments.
Mauritius is a well-established international financial services center. what are the factors that have contributed to its success and make it attractive?
Mauritius has built its reputation over 30 years as a stable and trusted financial center. First, it is because of its location. Since it is situated right between Asia and Africa, it makes it like a perfect getaway for investors targeting different jurisdictions or African markets, for example. Second is because of its legal and regulatory system. So Mauritius offers a political stability which gives investor confidence. And I must add that the financial services sector now manages funds of worth more than 80 billion. So this shows the level of trust investors has in us. Also because of the innovative mindset that Mauritius has. For instance, it keeps improving in new fund structures and also fintech projects. Mauritius has introduced the VCC structure in 2022, becoming the second jurisdiction globally after Singapore having adopted this flexible and modern structure. So I must proudly add that ONS was the first management company in Mauritius to establish this type of structure.
Does Mauritius evolve in a complex ecosystem of legislations and regulations, and how do operators work in such a system?
Mauritius has a detailed and strict legal framework, but I believe that's actually a very good thing. Why? Because it keeps our reputation strong and ensure we meet compliance and anti-money laundering. For us, the key is teamwork and expertise. Each of the process from legal, accounting, compliance are handled by professionals who knows the rule well. We also work closely with regulators like FSC, who provides a regular guidance note and update, which makes things smoother to work with. So yes, complexity exists, but the system is collaborative.
In a sector that requires people with special talents, special skills and knowledge, how does Mauritius compete with other jurisdictions to attract talents?
Talent is one of the key strengths of Mauritius financial sector. This is because Mauritius has a pool of qualified professionals in accounting, finance and management, law. So the government and the private sector are working closely to build skill through training programs and other fintech hubs. Mauritius offers a great lifestyle, safety and a good time zone that connects both Asia and Africa, which makes it attractive for local and international professionals. Talent is built and not bought, and Mauritius is investing in the pipeline that matter for the IFC.
Having been under scrutiny some years back, especially by the European Union and the FATF, what has Mauritius learned from the backlash, and how is the country prepared for future challenges?
The period when Mauritius was on that FATF and grey list was a wake-up call, because it shows how important it was to be aligned with the global standards. Mauritius was in the need to update its AML-CFT framework in order to be aligned with the global standard. Because of that hard work, Mauritius was removed in that list in 2021 and has since strengthened its technical compliance through FATF recommendation. The main lesson here was that we must always be proactive and not reactive. Today, there are better supervision, more training for compliance officer, and more transparency. Mauritius now monitors global changes so that we can adapt early. We have come out of that experience stronger and more disciplined and better prepared for any future challenges.
Umera Santali, thank you very much. I am currently sitting in the Aston Martin DB5, which is the original car of James Bond's movie. And we are not in the UK, we are here in Mauritius itself, in Bossonge, where there is the Milestones Motor Museum, which is due to open next year. A lot of cars have arrived here, and when the museum will open officially, there'll be around 200 cars, iconic cars. And today we are going to see which cars are already here and how works are going on in Bossonge to complete the museum's work. And we will talk to Terry Smith, who is the founder of the Milestones Motor Museum. Terry Smith, so you are the founder of the Milestones Motor Museum. And what was the idea behind to get this museum in Mauritius?
Well, I've been interested in cars for a long time. My father was a big motorcycle and car enthusiast. I guess I got the bug from him. So I've been collecting cars for about 30 years roughly, so that's not new. But like a lot of hobbies, if you've got one, they get out of scale eventually. So I ended up with a lot more cars than you can get in your garage. And so I thought that it would be a good thing to set up a museum for them. And I looked at a number of places in the world, and I can talk about that if you wish. I looked at Dubai, I looked at Langkawi in Malaysia, I looked at Austria, and of course the UK, which is where I moved from 11 years ago to come to Mauritius. And they had a lot of merits of one sort or another versus each other, but overall with Mauritius in the end, probably the most important thing is I live here. And so it would be very nice to have the museum operate somewhere where I live so that I can drop in from time to time and see my cars and see how it's going. You know, there's a lot of other merits to Mauritius as well. I mean, there's a big car culture in Mauritius. People in Mauritius are, on the whole, very keen on cars. So I think that's a good thing as well.
Now, when we see all these cars, they have stories and they're related to some event. And what do people will get to see here when they come here in Mauritius? And why did you choose Mauritius?
Well, you're right. I mean, the reason it's called Milestones, I think, is because, you know, what's a milestone? It's something that marks a development. And I think the cars that we have mark a lot of different developments. Cars that have changed transport, obviously, that's the most important, and also changed us in society and the way that we move around and so on, if you look at it. Sometimes they appear in movies, sometimes they appear in TV shows, sometimes they appear in posters on boys' bedroom walls and so on. All of the cars I think we've got have got some kind of story behind them that link to that. There's a museum in Naples in Florida called the Revs Institute, and the proprietor of that museum has this theory that the object that most affected our lives in the 20th century was the car. Our interaction with the car, taking it across the whole 100 years, was probably the single biggest thing that people interacted with. And I think he's got a point. And that's something I think we're trying to reflect.
Now, we believe that a museum also have people come learn something. And what will the visitors come here learn with this museum?
And I think that taking our cue from Wayne Harley, our curator, who previously ran the Franschhoek Motor Museum in South Africa for about 20 years. I think an awful lot of this in the end comes down to word of mouth, not advertising, that people realizing that there's this significant car collection here where they can come and they can see cars from currently 1903 to 2012. They can see cars which are fantastically significant in terms of the development of cars, movies, TV, their own life. They made, you know, their father's car, or you know, something like that. We'll, you know, think along the lines of making this a destination. Plus, you know, there's a great tourist industry here. You know, we have well over 1 million visitors a year. What do they do on a rainy day?
Now, obviously, we see this huge place, the buildings, the cars. It's a huge investment, and what it is bringing to Mauritius.
Yeah, look, the investment, I'll talk in US dollar terms to try and get it consistent. I mean, the cars that we're importing are worth, well, I'm not sure what they're worth because you'd have to value them now, but certainly in terms of what we paid for them, they're worth $100 million. So that's an inward investment. When we bring one of these cars in, then we're bringing that capital into Mauritius, and that's capital is what's going to attract people. We bought the land here for about $6 or $7 million from Medine, and we're building the museum and the storage and the maintenance facilities and so on that go with it, which is probably going to cost about another $40 million. So if you add all of that together, you're probably getting somewhere in the region of about $150, $160 million at the outset. And there will be more. I mean, we have a wish list of additional cars that we want to buy. And we've stopped buying them mostly for the last 2 years because we really want to get the museum built and open first. And me buying cars just means that there's more to do in terms of looking after cars. And the other thing I hope it will bring, other than that investment, and tourists coming to museum to see the car museum, is employment. I mean, we're going to need to employ people to look after the cars, look after the buildings, guide people, guard things, do the landscaping, do the security, etc., etc. So there will be big employment, I think, and we're literally across the road to the other side of the road where Beausange village is, which is not a particularly prosperous area. I hope it will bring employment to a lot of people there.
So do you have anything for the children or the youth coming here to visit Mauritius?
Yeah, look, we see it in exactly the same way, that we hope that what we will engender here is for people to learn about cars and motorcycles in due course as well, how they've impacted with humans, how they work, and kindle their interest in engineering, basically. So we can show them, for example, if they're interested in automotive engineering and engines, we can show them vehicles with 1 cylinder, 2 cylinders, 3 cylinders, 4 cylinders, 5 cylinders, 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders, 10 cylinders, 12 cylinders, and 16 cylinders. That's about as wide a range as you can get, and why those different configurations are important, how they work and what they do. And initially it will be look at the cars, we can tell you about the cars, but we have a lot of spare equipment that comes with these cars. We have spare engines and things like that. We will do things like cutting away engines so they can see these things at work. So it's not just, well, it's got a 6, how does it work? How do the pistons go up and down? How does the fuel get in? How does the exhaust get out? How is it connected to all the systems in the vehicle so they can learn about it? I also hope that what it will do is help to build a culture here of being able to maintain and restore vehicles like this over time, because that's a big industry actually. Maintaining and restoring classic cars is a very big industry across the world, and there are some good old-fashioned skills here in Mauritius from people who can do that. You know, people's ability, for example, to deal with bodywork in Mauritius. I know from accidents that I've had cars involved in here. There are some people who can do some very, very good old-fashioned repair work here, which is exactly what you need with classic cars.
Now, Terry Smith, we would like also to ask you the question, with this huge investment, of course, will it be a reasonable price for the visitors when they come here?
We'll probably have 2 prices, I think. We'll have a high season price and a low season price, with the low season price being a discounted price for Mauritians, basically, so that when we're out of the main tourist season, it will give more Mauritians the opportunity to come and see it.
And we see all those cars here. What are the cars that have recently joined this museum, the storage here?
One of our most recent arrivals is just over there. That's the Nissan R32 Nismo, which is a car that resuscitated Nissan's fortunes, and was so successful in racing that in Australia the motoring press called it Godzilla, the monster, because it was just a fantastic piece of equipment. And the car is based around an electronically powered 4-wheel drive system, which gives you amazing tractions, which is the traction between the wheels. And I think a lot of Mauritians who are interested in cars may find that car interesting. It's one of our most recent rides, because if you look at cars in Mauritius or even buses in Mauritius, you'll quite often find a sticker or something on them that says Nismo, which is Nissan Motorsport. That's the origins of that car. You'll see it's over there, and it's got R32 Nismo on the license plate. We also recently flew in the McLaren F1, which is over there, which is arguably the greatest car that's ever been built, and I would suggest even the greatest car that ever will be built. They'll never build another car like that in the history of motoring. I think it's the era of making a car without limits like that has passed, basically, and it is iconic. They only made 62 of them. A number of them have been crashed because you can crash them, and so it's very rare, very expensive, which people get, but also I just think it's probably the greatest car that's ever been built. And of course, before that, we flew in the James Bond DB5, which is just over there as well. Before Christmas, we will have arriving by air the Ford GT40, which is the car that was in Le Mans 66 or Ford v Ferrari. We have that coming in before Christmas by air, which I'm looking forward to, because people often ask me what my favourite car is, and I'm torn. The McLaren F1 or the Ford GT40. I switch between those two.
Thank you very much. Business Connect, that's it for this edition. I hope you enjoyed the show, which you can find on our online platform. Hoping to see you next time. Goodbye.